The next formal presidential power we're going to focus on is the president serving as chief legislator. So ultimately, the president is involved at the very end of the lawmaking process. Congress develops a proposed law called a bill. They write it up, they argue about it, and they take a vote. And if a majority of Congress approves of it, it's sent to the president for final approval. At that point, the president has two options. You can either sign the bill and it becomes law, or a president can veto it, right? A veto just basically means that he's going to block it from going into effect. It is possible for Congress to pass a bill, pass a law over a veto, right? So, like, override a presidential veto. This just requires the bill to go back to Congress. And now, instead of just 51% that you needed the first time to pass it, you need a two-thirds vote, right? So a two-thirds vote of Congress can override a presidential veto. This is just a chart that shows some of the presidential vetoes. You'll see, like, this is the column you should look at, the first one. It shows you how many times the president vetoed a law that was passed by Congress. And this shows you, this column up here, of the vetoes that the president used, how many of those were overridden by Congress against the president's will. So you'll notice as we flip through the presidents, some of the presidents have considerably larger numbers of vetoes than, like, other presidents who have very few, right? All the way up through President Trump here. One of the important things to note is that, like, why are some of the veto numbers so much higher for some presidents than others? It's probably because the presidents that have high veto numbers are presiding over periods of what we call divided government. Divided government is when the president and Congress are controlled by different parties. So, like, a Republican Congress is passing a law that the Democratic president disagrees with. So you're much more likely to see a veto. The presidents that have less veto numbers are probably presiding over time periods of unified government, meaning the president and Congress are controlled by the same parties. You're not going to have a Democratic Congress pass a law only to have it vetoed by a Democratic president. Like, they wouldn't make their own party look bad by doing that. So usually the higher veto numbers occur when Congress and the president are of different parties, and that's known as divided government.